Are the 49ers giving off a 2011 New York Giants vibe? That team was a wild card team. They were 7-6. They went on to be 9-7. They won the freaking Super Bowl. And there's some similarities. I'm getting that question a lot. I think you are too. I get it. What do you think?
All right, so let's just lay it out. That team was 6-6, much like the 49ers were. Then they went to 7-6, like the 49ers are currently. They lost the next game, and then they went on, I think a 2-game run to finish the season, and then just blew through the playoffs.
Yep.
Here's what I'm noticing. I was looking at through some of the stats of that team. First of all, the talent level on this team is much higher than it was on that team.
Right.
They had I think they had 2 Pro Bowlers when it was all said and done. So I think the talent level over here is higher. But the one thing that team had all season long, regardless of what was going on, win, lose, draw, it didn't matter. They forced a ton of turnovers, Grant. Yep. There was only one game during the regular season where they forced 0 turnovers. That's it. And I think the 49ers are already up to like 4 or 6, whatever it is. It's much more than that. And when you look at that improbable run that they made, the final 2 games of the regular season and the 4 games in the playoffs, they forced 12 turnovers and only gave up 2 turnovers. That is a big, big difference. That is why they ended up winning the Super Bowl. They locked down a lot of teams along the way. And I just don't see San Francisco as that type of team. It doesn't mean that they can't go on a similar run, but they would have to do it in a much different manner.
I totally agree. See, first of all, that 2011 Giants team got lucky. Like the Niners were the best team that year. And the Niners beat themselves in the NFC Championship game on special teams. We don't have to rehash the past, but that's what happened.
No, let's not.
But for the Niners to be like the 2011 Giants, the way I remember that team was, they had Eli Manning, and you can make a parallel to Jimmy Garoppolo for sure. Overpaid, limited quarterback. Yeah, absolutely. They had weapons on offense. Hakeem Nicks, Victor Cruz, no slouch. Mario Manningham, they had 3 weapons on offense, just like the Niners. So, yeah. The difference is the defense. What people don't remember about that 2011 team is what propelled them to the Super Bowl was the defense. Like, let me just go through it real quick. What they did at the end of that season. Hold on.
I think the other thing, too, that we have to consider is that there was still a lot of carryover. I know that it was like 3 or 4 years prior that they had actually won the Super Bowl, but they had some pedigree on that roster that the 49ers just currently don't have.
Yes. So the final 6 games, week 15, they give up 14 points. No, week 16, they give up 14 points. Then week 17, they give up 14. Wild card round 2, division 20, conference championship 17, Super Bowl 17. It was the defense. Also, they had a home game in their first playoff game. That was at home against the Falcons. They beat them 24-2. So the Niners aren't going to have that. But the difference, the reason that defense got hot, people don't remember, but they had O.C. Umenyiora and Jason Pierre-Paul, 2 stud pass rushers. Umenyiora got hurt that year, and the defense fell apart. And then he came back, and the defense got crazy good. O.C. Umenyiora had 9 sacks in 9 regular season games and then 3.5 sacks in the playoffs. He went crazy. And Jason Pierre-Paul had like 16.5 sacks in the regular season. So he was their Nick Bosa, but it's like they had D Ford. You know what I mean? They had their bookend, and the Niners don't. They really
They also had Justin Tuck on that team, if I remember correctly.
They had Justin Tuck. They had Chris Canty. They had but they had 2 big-time pass rushers. And then they had Corey Webster at corner who had 6 interceptions, and Aaron Ross who had 4. The Niners' leading interception guy is Jimmy Ward with 2. So, I just don't – they don't have the second pass rusher. They don't have the corners who will intercept you. They don't have the defense that Giants team had.
Yeah, I'll say this, though. If you look at the 49ers, I talked about how they don't force a lot of turnovers. But really, I think it's the last 4 or 5 games. They've forced at least 2 turnovers in every game. So they're starting to pick that up, which is a good sign. And – we'll talk about it as we go into the playoffs and in some of the scenarios, but they are getting somewhat hot towards the end of the season, much like the Giants did. I think the difference, though, too, is that Giants team showed life very early in the season, Grant. They started out 6-2.
6-2.
Then they lost 4 straight, and then they went on another run to end the season. So the talent was there. I think like their losses lined up with the O.C. Umenyiora loss, and then once he came back, they started to make that run again. So There's a lot of similarities as far as record. I don't think there's a lot of similarities as far as the team goes.
And Waruna brings up a good point. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. They had Eli. The Niners have Jimmy Garoppolo. That's the difference. Like people talk crap about Eli, but Eli won 2 Super Bowls. And in those Super Bowls, each time, he made clutch, big-time throws down the field, both times, right? The first one to David Tyree.
Yep.
The second one to Mario Manningham. He did it. Jimmy had a similar situation, and he didn't. He missed. So Eli was better. Eli was clutch with big-time throws, not like, roll to your left, dump it off to Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk jumps from the 4. It's different. Eli was better. I'm sorry. So those are big differences. I mean, it doesn't mean the Niners can't win this. Anything could happen. Injuries, anything could happen. But nah, I think there's a lot
for as much as I mean, Eli. Listen, I think it's arguable whether you think Eli should be a Hall of Fame player. That can go back and forth, but there were many times in his career where he'd put up a 400-yard game, maybe even eclipse 500. Like, that's just not in Jimmy's bag, really. So 2 completely different players.
He had Tiki Barber early in his career, but really he never was, the product of a good run game. It was him throwing to Cruz and Knicks and then Beckham. I mean, it was very much a one-dimensional attack in New York for his career. So,
yeah, absolutely.